For me, life and art are very connected. For me, I think art is a way of life. My name is Tomasz Madajczak. I come originally from Poland. I live in Ireland for past 18 years, last 10 years in West Cork. I found Ireland the most hospitable place, and the Irish nation the most hospitable nation in Europe that I imagined that I would be able to live amongst and share my experience and where my family could grow. That's why I think I'm living in Ireland. I have studied photography in Fine Art Academy in Poland for 5 years, and around my third year I focused and started being interested in installation. Photography on the beginning was for me like looking through the lens, looking through the camera and observing the world, finding in the world something what fascinated me. But as I was learning more about art and as I was realizing more what interests me in art, I figured out that finding ways of interacting with the space in front of the camera, that's something what I'm really interested in, and the more I experienced that, the more I realized that actually I want to work with the space, that the objects that I bring, that the situations that people are involved in change everything, and that the change itself is the core of my activity. So then different art interactions, different art situations develop through that practice, and the installations were involving initially thinking about photography. So for me, photography was based on light. Light was creating an image on a photosensitive material, and eventually I started using light in my installations. I started activating spaces by the strongest elements that seemed very significant and present when I entered particular spaces. So usually my works are site-specific. They would relate to the place where they are created. Sometimes I bring some elements from outside, but the main element is the perception. When I'm in the space, I look into myself and I look around me, and I think that relationship that happens in that moment of approaching and learning and realizing what I'm experiencing, what I'm involved in, that's where the works grows from. Because I have my experience, I always carry my culture, my background with me, and wherever I go, whatever happens, it always is influenced by what happened in the past. For me, life and art are very, very connected. For me, I think art is a way of life. I think I have always been an artist. I just didn't know that that's what people called it. I was doing what felt right for me, and then sometimes I was realizing that maybe it didn't feel like that for others. And that way I was learning my values and realizations about how the world works. But I was always curious about the further steps that we can take, about the boundaries. I was always checking where my boundaries are. At some point, my life was very fast. I felt that I'm living maybe 3 or 4 lives in one life. And I thought that I will die quite soon. I was predicting my death around 32, 34 years, because I thought it's impossible. Since I'm living 3 or 4 lives in one go, that's usually the lifespan of a normal person. It was quite fast, yeah? So I was traveling a lot. I wanted to learn. I always wanted to learn about different cultures and different people. People fascinated me. I think I wanted to realize who I am but I realized that it is only possible if I will figure out who the other people are, because we are so different. So I think that's what fascinated me the most. I wanted to go wherever I was able, and I wanted to meet as many people as I managed to see, and somehow it was very natural. I was mainly hitchhiking through Europe and traveling a little bit in Africa, and it always felt like natural flow. I always wanted to travel more than the life speed changed. Maybe that's why I'm still alive. And I think I realized that the moments when we can truly be, when we can truly open up to anything that happens and feel safe in ourselves, that's where the truth is. Truth about who we are in this particular moment, and truth about how we are with the world that surrounds us. All artists that I know, whenever I get to know them a little bit more, I find them very diverse and individual. So I would say that because art and art making is such an intimate space, I think it's always diverse in a way. Of course, there are certain ways of thinking and certain conversations about certain topics, and there will be people who will agree with other people. There will be people who will think in some kind of common way. But I think when we reach a little bit deeper, we all have our own very individual understanding, and I think it is quite diverse. And I think what I learned about what Aldous Huxley was referring to at some point, that it would be amazing to be able to, for a short while, experience what the other person is experiencing, to be able to actually feel how the other people feel. And I think we can never do that. We always have our individual way of thinking, and our feelings, our thoughts, our emotions are our own. And no matter how far we think or imagine that we have this common ground, we can always only feel what we feel.